I can't keep quiet about global warming any longer, and I'm going to give you a solution, something that we can actively participate in starting right now if we're not already doing it. Okay? So Houston just recently went underwater from Harvey, costing us hundreds of billions of dollars. 60-something people died, tens of thousands of people being displaced. Right now there's 3 more hurricanes at the same time. I didn't even know that was really possible. One of them is Irma, which is headed for the United States. And Irma specifically is the largest, most extreme hurricane that the Atlantic Ocean has ever seen. The sea levels have risen about a half a foot within the past 10 years or so. There's more moisture in the air. In 2014, we recorded the warmest year on record. 2015 beat 2014 for the new warmest year. 2016, the new warmest year, 3 years in a row, and we're on track for 4 years in a row. You see a pattern that's happening. The Earth is heating up. And scientists as early as 1979, I believe, somewhere in the 1970s, I think it was 1979, ExxonMobil's own scientists, not somebody on the outside trying to make shit up. This was the fossil fuel industry's own scientists said, yeah, what you're doing right now is going to have disastrous consequences. Here's why. We've proven it. And ExxonMobil said, yeah, okay, that's nice. We're going to bury this and continue business as usual because we got a lot of money to make. And they did it again in 1982. Their own scientists said, yeah, this is what's happening. If you guys keep doing what you're doing, business as usual, here's what's going to happen. The sea levels are going to rise. There's going to be more moisture in the air. The Earth is going to warm faster than it should be. And they said, yeah, so they knew it decades ago. And they did nothing about it. They buried those studies, and the lobbyists for these big, massive companies bought politicians to do their bidding in their favor, to deregulate, to allow them to keep doing business as usual because they got a lot of money to make. And global warming as a result of our activities on planet Earth, that's not tomorrow anymore. That's here. We started crossing those thresholds actually a couple of years ago or so, and we're crossing new thresholds now. And there's other thresholds that are much more deadly than the ones that we've already crossed. So global warming is here. It's no longer tomorrow, and yet we still have global warmer deniers. And so what we've seen so far is not even the tip of the iceberg. It's not even a drop in the bucket compared to what's coming our way if we don't take action right now. We've got to get our democracy back. And here's how we do it. Here's the solution. We stop voting for people that are on the take. We live in a system of legalized bribery, and it's been happening for so long that it's so normalized that nobody really talks much about it, except now. Now people are becoming slowly aware, but it needs to happen more quickly because we need to more quickly stop doing what we're doing to cause these natural disasters. Hurricanes and things like that are always going to happen. They always have. And nobody rational is claiming that hurricanes are caused by what we're doing. No, what we're saying, what scientists are saying, and they've proven, and it's here today, 2 + 2 = 4, is the hurricanes are more frequent, the natural disasters are more extreme, and that's what's happening right now. The sea levels have risen, so when flooding happens, it's going to seep into areas that it doesn't typically seep into because there's more moisture in the air, which scientists predicted would happen, and they proved it, and now it's here. When there's heavy rains like in a hurricane, it's going to drop even more water because the air is already moist. So all these things are happening. And these are the same scientists, by the way, that told us the eclipse is coming. Nobody questioned it. We didn't say, oh, that's a hoax. And a bunch of other things they tell us that's happening. We never question it. The only time we question the same scientists that we don't question is when we do question them, when it happens to be global warming. So what's the difference? Things like the eclipse and other things, they don't really affect big money interests. Global warming, you got it, it affects big money interests. So that's when we question it. Because there's one big circle jerk happening between corporate-owned media and the biggest corporations in the world and corporate bought politicians. One big circle jerk between all of them that creates a cost that the rest of the world has to pay for, not just the United States. When it comes to global warming, the entire world pays that cost that those soulless a-holes create. All the death and destruction and misery and displacements that happen, it's because of those people. So we have to get our democracy back, and we do that by voting for principled politicians I'll start dropping names. I don't normally do that, but Obama, Bush, and Clinton, and Trump, and all these guys, all of them are on the take. Are you a Republican or Democrat? It doesn't matter. They're on the take. They take from the same special interest groups, in this case fossil fuel industries and Wall Street and so forth, and they do their bidding for them. And they always slant policies against you and I, against the rest of the world, and in their favor. That's legalized bribery. That creates an enormous conflict of interest. It's only human nature. If somebody takes that kind of money from those big moneyed interests, they're going to return the favor. It's just human interest. That's human nature. So we have to stop voting for those guys and girls and only vote for politicians. There needs to be an amendment to the Constitution that bars all private money from politics, all of it. That way there can't be any clever roundabout way of getting private money in, because once we get all money out, then the politicians have to represent us instead of their donors. That's the only way it's going to happen. Otherwise, they're going to continue to take money from the fossil fuel industry and craft policies in their favors. And what we've seen up to this point is just going to be not even a drop in the bucket compared to the devastation that's going to come down the road from now. We get money out of politics. We get politicians that do right for us and for the planet. And then we can stop crossing further thresholds that's going to create much more devastation and human suffering and death and so forth. That's the only way that's going to happen. But unfortunately, what we have now, we still have a large enough group of climate change deniers, even though it's here right now. I mean, 2 + 2 = 4, that's not debatable. In this case, 2 + 2 = 4 means human interaction on planet Earth is speeding up global warming, which is causing more frequent and more extreme natural disasters. In terms of human cost, prepare to see millions of people wiped out. What we saw 60 wiped out just now in Houston, it's going to go to thousands and then hundreds of thousands. Eventually millions of people at a time are going to be wiped out. We get 500-year storms now several times a year. Now, we only recognize the ones that make landfall, but even that's happening more frequently now. The ones that are hitting land, the ones that are hitting the United States. There are countries in the Caribbean Sea and the Pacific Ocean that are only 9 or 10 feet above sea level. The storms that are going through 3 hurricanes right now at the same time, that's ridiculous. One of them, Irma, being the most extreme hurricane the Atlantic Ocean has ever seen. There's islands right now in the Bahamas that are being pummeled that are only about 9 feet above sea level, with storm surges that go 20 feet above sea level. They're gone. As of yesterday, there's already been islands that have, where the buildings, 95, read some estimates where 95% of all their buildings have been destroyed. Can you imagine that happening in the United States? I mean, we're talking about, we've had, cities that face horrific damage. Imagine the whole country, United States, 95% of all the infrastructure, all the buildings and roads and everything gone, and 100% of everybody displaced. Everyone in America is homeless. That's what's happening already in some of these nations. And guess what? These nations that are being wiped out have done nothing to cause this cost. That's on the United States. Could we do anything to be more genocidal or more hated and rightfully hated by the rest of the world? These other countries have done nothing to cause these natural disasters. They don't put any emissions or anything into they don't interact with the planet in a way that's speeding up global warming, that's creating these more extreme and frequent hurricanes. No, they don't do any. We do. We're not the only countries in the world. A lot of Europe does too, but we do the bulk majority of it. And Europe is taking more they need to take even more action. Even Europe isn't taking enough action, but they've taken much more action than we have. We are the biggest culprits in the entire world, creating a cost for the rest of the world, and we're wiping out island nations right now. And it's affecting us to a degree, but we're not wiping ourselves out yet. It will happen. So these 500-year storms are happening several times a year now, and once in a while they hit landfall in the United States. And we don't really notice unless it hits our lands. These other island nations, they don't even really make the news. And it's happening right now. Maybe this time it will. I don't know. We'll see. Irma hasn't made landfall against the United States yet, but it looks like it's going to, as far as we can tell. And when it does, what if the eye goes through Miami and it wipes out Miami? Or maybe somewhere up in Georgia, because we don't fully know the trajectory yet of the storm. We have to get our democracy back. We have to amend our Constitution that bars all private campaign money. All private money needs to be out of politics. Otherwise, politicians will never do the right thing because they're married to the fossil fuel industry and other industries, but specifically the ones that's causing global warming, the fossil fuel industry. We have to get all money out of politics so they do our bidding. Okay? That's the point of this video. And I hope there's some video, if it's mine or somebody else's, that goes so viral that the corporate-owned media has no choice but to cover it, because they're not talking about this. They're mostly largely saying that it just happens, it's just natural disasters. And they're actually, we need to stop giving a voice to people that are denying climate change. Those people do not have a valid opinion. They don't get to have that belief. The climate change deniers, they should not have a seat at the table where laws and regulations are being crafted. That's not an opinion that is equal to yours or mine or to the scientists that have proven, they predicted it years ago using science, and now we're seeing it happen, and we still have deniers. It's like, it's right, this is exactly what we said is going to happen. As far as 40 years ago they said the sea levels are going to rise. Well, they've risen. More moisture in the air. Well, there's more moisture in the air. Every year progressively the planet's going to get warmer. Well, it's been doing that for several years now. They predicted all that stuff. They've been right. The same guys that told us about the eclipse, but didn't question it, and a bunch of other things, but when it threatens big money interests, suddenly, whoa, it's a hoax. From the same people. There's no consistency in that. What could cause that? Money and politics. So the climate deniers needn't have a voice, and they deserve to be criticized intensely at every corner. Anyone that's going to deny, because it's here. It's like saying 2 + 2 doesn't equal 4. Okay, well then you lose your seat at the debate table. 2 + 2 does equal 4. The debate should be, what do we do about 2 + 2 equaling 4? In other words, what do we do about human activity, human interaction with the planet that's causing the speed up of global warming? What do we do about that? Not, is that even real? Because it is real. That's an inferior, not all opinions are created equal, okay? The opinion that global warming is a hoax, it's an inferior opinion. That person should never be allowed at the table where laws are crafted, because we keep allowing those people to have any influence over how laws are crafted and legislation and regulations against fossil fuel industries and other industries. Then that's what creates the setup where a lot of people needlessly die and get displaced, and people in other countries are wiped out, like what's happening right now. That's no longer tomorrow, that's right now, literally. In fact, literally, as I'm making this video, September 8th, 2017, yesterday, September 7th, we saw some island countries get wiped out that are only about 9 feet above sea level. They're gone, they're displaced. I mean, the sea levels are going to come back down, and who knows what's going to be there. 95% of all their buildings are gone. Now, we debate a lot about the economy. There's not going to be an economy if we keep having our own cities flooded or wiped out, or we keep having to rebuild cities. Houston, the 4th largest populated city in the United States. Are you kidding me? What if Miami's next? What if this happens a couple times every year? We just recently, as of yesterday, we increased the debt ceiling in order to pay for the cleanup in Houston. Rightfully so. Anytime this happens, we got to help our people out. So yeah, I mean, that if there's ever a time for a blank check, that's when we write a blank check to help people out from a natural disaster. But put your logical hat on. Money is not infinite, it's finite. We had to raise the debt ceiling to pay for it. So how many more natural disasters and how frequently can we experience them where they cost hundreds of billions of dollars until we can't cover it anymore? Until they have to raise your taxes to 100%. Can you imagine? I mean, that's what's coming down the road if we don't stop what we're doing and have a green revolution, a green technology revolution. We're not going to get that unless we get money out of politics. So if we don't get money out of politics, we're not going to have the green technology revolution. If we don't have the green technology revolution, then you're looking at a day to where the United States government could raise your taxes to 100%. In other words, you can't afford to have a home or eat, you're homeless, you're starving, you're dead. And even at that tax rate, it wouldn't be enough to cover the cost of all the damage created by the fossil fuel industry, created by this system of legalized bribery known as donation money to our politicians. That's why we have to get the money out. All of it. That's why we need an amendment to get it all out, so there can be no roundabout way of doing it. Just imagine that. I mean, there's no debate worth having about our economy if we don't come up with a way to have a meaningful, sustainable, green technology revolution, and that's not coming unless we get money out of politics and we take those dangerous, soulless a-holes who are denying climate change out. Just kick them out. And that's up to you. That's a grassroots effort. We need to stop voting for, I don't care if they're Democrat or Republican, it doesn't matter, you're full of shit anyway if you're voting for these knuckle draggers that don't believe that global warming is real. We have to get them out. We have to take our democracy back. Hope that makes sense. Please share this. Share it. Get it out there. And I don't care if it's my video or someone else's video, something has to go viral that just becomes so popular, the whole country sees it, the whole world sees it, and just maybe we can get corporate-owned media to cover this story, and just maybe we can get that constitutional amendment, and just maybe we can have politicians who are going to fight for a green technology revolution and literally save our lives and save the lives of people in other countries, other little island nations that have nothing to do with the cost that's been placed on the whole planet, but they're the ones paying for it the most, actually, when you talk about people being wiped out. That's sick, man. Really sick. We're a sick country to do that to other countries and still deny. We're still denying certain people. It's crazy. So, and I'll close on this note here. Please share this. Please. Companies like ExxonMobil, you know, the company that in 1979 they had their own scientists say, yeah, this is what's going to happen. You're going to create a cost for the rest of the world that's going to have to clean up. You need to stop. And they said, yeah, that's nice. We're going to bury this study and continue business as usual. So that's what they did. And just as the scientists predicted, ExxonMobil and others like it created this massive cost the rest of the world is paying for, some genocidally, and they haven't been made to clean up any of it. No, we have to clean it up. That cost is on us. In my opinion, ExxonMobil should be made to pay every dollar of that cost, but they're not going to. They profit in the hundreds of billions of dollars every year, and they still get corporate welfare to the tune of, I think it was $4 billion a year. $4 billion a year, corporate welfare. Probably the last people on planet Earth that need any welfare whatsoever, but they get it. And they created a cost that the rest of the world has to pay for, and they still get corporate welfare. Isn't that amazing? That's money in politics. In a rational world, that would be like, what do you fucking talk about? That would never happen in a rational world. No, that's insane. But it does happen. The corporate welfare shouldn't even be a thing. How does that even exist? Are you kidding me? I mean, I can see social welfare in certain circumstances. Somebody's working their ass off and they still can't make ends meet. Yeah, fill in that gap with social welfare. Help them out. But companies making hundreds of billions of dollars a year, or even $1 billion a year, they're getting welfare? What the fuck is wrong with that? You think we don't live in a messed up system? Well, you do because you're rational, but there's some people that are like, yeah, that's fine, business as usual. Are you kidding me? No. And not only that, but ExxonMobil and others like it, they get the welfare that they don't need, and they do activities that creates a cost that the rest of the world has to pay for in terms of human lives being lost and humans losing their homes and everything they own, and some island nations literally being wiped out by the natural disasters that they perpetuated, that they didn't start, but their actions are creating more of and increasing how extreme these natural disasters are. Where, you know, before in the old days, which wasn't that long ago, these island nations and the United States, we didn't have storms this extreme. We could weather them. It would cause minimal damage. Now it's wiping places out. And they don't have to pay for any of that cleanup. The ones that caused it, they don't have to pay for any of that cleanup, and they still get their corporate welfare checks every year. Yeah, it's a pretty messed up system. We have to get money out of politics, and you have to stop voting for people that are on the take. Does that make any sense? I don't care if you vote for Republican, Democrat, whoever. If you voted for Clinton or Bush, vote for any of those guys. All of them are on the take. All of them. So we've told them we're okay with it. You can have these enormous conflicts of interest, which, by the way, they don't even disclose it. So we're telling these people by our votes, when we vote for people that are on the take, that's us telling them, yeah, we're okay with you being on the take, and we are okay with you not disclosing it with us. So you just keep doing it hush hush and be on the take, and we're still going to keep voting for you because that's what we've been doing for so many years. So we've got to stop doing that, and it'll send a signal to them that no, we accepted it yesterday, but not anymore. You cannot win now if you're on the take. And then we finally get some principled people, and then we can finally have a green technology revolution, and we can finally stop crossing these new thresholds of global warming, and we can save our lives, and we can save our economy. And that's a real thing. So please share this. Get this out there. I think I've ranted long enough. I think I got everything out there that I wanted to say. I've been stewing on this for so long now. Irma hasn't even hit yet, so we're going to see what kind of damage that does. Just say your prayers if you pray, send some good wishes, vibrations, and keep everyone in your thoughts. And, just as importantly, change how you vote. Change how you vote for our elected leaders. Don't vote for people that are on the take anymore. Otherwise, what's happening now, this is just the beginning, and it's going to get far worse. Okay? Bye for now, everybody.